You've just won $250 million, and it's been deposited in your bank account. What are you going to do today? Story 1. This is pretty fascinating and sad. My only thought after reading the example of $315 million winner Whitaker is, in hindsight, he should have just left his small West Virginia town. I know that's easier said than done. People love their hometowns, and seems like most of his family was there. But if he had just picked up and moved himself and his extended family to like New York City, or any metropolis with many wealthy people, or rich suburbs if he wanted peace and quiet, no one would bother him. He would just be one of thousands of multimillionaires in his city region then. So I think a lesson here would be winners from rural, poorer places should just move to wealthy cities to avoid harassment.
Story 2. I'm going over to the fancy casino down the road and eating at their high-class 5-star restaurant because it's something I've always wanted to do. Then I'm paying off all my bills and sending money to family and friends. After that, I'll start working on making my dream to have a small little neighborhood with my closest friends a reality. I have about 8 friends I'd like to build a community for. Let them design their own homes around this big circular cul-de-sac road out on some beautiful private land with a lake. In the middle of the neighborhood would be our community area. It'd have a community garden because several of my friends love to garden. It'd also have a hangout building complete with a high-tech D&D room since our weekly meetings would now be in person. It'd also have a movie area, a gaming area, both physical games and video games, and a huge kitchen for us to cook together in because half of us love to cook. Outside the building, we'd have a pool, jacuzzi, fire pit, and lounge area, outdoor BBQ area with a brick oven for homemade pizza nights, and a playground area for the kids to enjoy. There would also be some tiny guest homes for when we have an overflow of guests during the holidays and they don't all pour in our homes. That way, nobody would have to get a hotel. After that's complete, I would put money towards investments that would ensure me, my family, and friends would be well taken care of in the future. And with the remainder, I'd like to start some sort of non-profit business that helps others and puts good out into the world. I've considered an organization that puts together baby boxes similar to the kinds that are offered to Finnish mothers. They would come with several months' worth of baby supplies, including clothes, formula, bottles, soaps, lotions, diapers, blankets, and other necessities. These boxes would be freely given to mothers in need, and at the same time I would employ people in need to help. I'd like to create a space for elderly women to come and socialize as they knit, crochet, and otherwise make blankets and clothing items for the boxes. No pressure to make deadlines or create X amount of items a week. Just a calm and relaxing atmosphere that helps them battle loneliness while also supplementing their incomes because we all know Social Security isn't enough. I'd also employ victims of abuse, the homeless, and those with disabilities who have a hard time finding employment elsewhere. And I'd like to pay them all well, too. Just literally an entire organization dedicated to making things better for all kinds of people from every walk of life. I don't even care if it was a money sink. If I was lucky enough to win that much money, I'd feel it was my obligation to do something good with it in return until I couldn't do anything more.
Story 3. Nothing. I'm going to sit on my couch and breathe. Just breath. Because for the first time ever, I don't have to worry about what I spent today. I don't have to figure out, did I pay the power bill? I don't have to panic in the realization that I spent too much money on groceries and now I'm short for the phone bill. I don't have to feel my heart clench when a stranger number calls that turns out to be a collection agency for something I forgot. I'd just sit with a cup of coffee and breath for the first time in 80 years.
Story 4. Tell no one and act as normal, but certainly eat a lot better. Pay off my debts quietly and make timely acts of kindness to my friends and family. I'd probably add in simple acts of kindness to strangers and charity too. Having this much money and people knowing, I feel I'd never be able to trust the sincerity of connections I make. But this is a way to have it and still offer timely help and kindness to others around you. Yes.
Story 5. Get a lawyer, accountant, financial advisor. Probably end up putting it all into mutual funds held in a trust that pay me out 1% per year, so the principal can grow over time while still giving me more than enough to live on very comfortably. If you're talking about immediate purchases, pay off my house, get my cat some work he needs, buy a decent car, get a problematic tree in my backyard removed, put a new roof on the house, install AC, install sprinklers.
Story 6. 1. Hire a lawyer. 2. Hire a financial advisor that is a fiduciary. 3. Keep working or find a job that is part-time and that has health insurance. I need that. 4. Try not to tell anyone outside of my parents and a few close friends. 5. Relax and live off of my 4% a year. $10 million.
Story 7. Open an account and put $95 million into it to pay my 2022 taxes. Edit for clarity. The maximum nominal tax rate in the U.S. is 38%. The IRS tracks all bank transactions greater than $50,000. That number may be significantly lower due to some new rules. There is a record of me receiving the money. I would rather not risk failing to pay the tax, so separating the tax owed would be the first thing I would do.
Story 8. Get places to live and food and therapy for my struggling friends. Then get my elderly parents into a place that's more accessible for elderly people. Then go on vacations and pay off my debts and do stuff for me. Then the rest to charity. Edit. I just remembered that a friend and I made a pact last year that we would open a gym if one of us won the lottery. So that too. And I promised one of my high school teachers years ago I'd get him a gift card to Ruth's Chris if I became a millionaire. I don't even know where the dude is, but I keep my promises.